Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Comic Art Spotlight here on this glorious Tuesday in March. Obviously, tonight is a Comic Link auction, so I'm sure a lot of people are tuned into that. I know the auction starts closing over there around 8 o'clock, and I don't know how late it goes because I've actually never bid in a Comic Link auction. One of these days, sorry to say that, Josh and Douglas, but I haven't. Maybe another time, but clearly today would have been a normal Comic Art Live evening with the other dealers, but they are all actively spending their money tonight over at Comic Link. So that's why they have the night off and I've got the night on. Let's see, just so I don't forget the usual, if you like the show, obviously subscribe. I think the button's over there somewhere if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, just comment and like all you want. It makes for a better show. Also, tomorrow night will be the Dueling Dealers show, as always, only on YouTube as well. So anybody who is used to tuning in on Facebook, after last week, we are not going to go through that again with both Facebook and YouTube as our destination. So don't expect to find us on Facebook any longer. And then on Thursday, I'll have a chat with David Kopecki. So that should be a lot of fun as well. But tonight, my guest is a longtime friend of mine, the marvelous Mark Hay, and I'll bring that gentleman in here right now. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, Bill. Always good to see you, brother.
Yeah, likewise, man. So you're not bidding in the Comic Link auction this evening either, are you?
No. As you know, I own a comic book store in addition to the art business, and I have one of my employees who's been out for 5 weeks, which means I've been doing double duty between the shop and the art business. So no bidding for me.
Well, in theory, you're not paying that guy. You have more money. If I were you, I'd be using that extra money to buy some artwork.
Yeah, like you with all your free time. I'm the same way. You got to be available to spend it, right?
No, that is true. That is very true. Chris, there is not enough money in the world that I could save to afford a Burn X-Men page any longer. Those are definitely out of... What's that?
You just have to sell chips.
Oh, and more than that. I mean, at an average of maybe $22,000 to $28,000 a page now, I am pretty much priced out of the Burn X-Men world, unfortunately.
Not true. Yeah. You're Bill Cox. You just be like, hey, anybody got an extra spare Burn page they can throw my way and make me a deal?
No, I can't compete any longer, and that's okay. I don't mind it. I can probably get a Burn X-Men Hidden Years page or something like that, but those aren't too pricey yet. Good evening, Mikhail. Nice to see you as always. Mr. Berkey sent me a picture of the package you sent him. He was very impressed and thrilled by how that turned out. So congratulations on sending him something that looked that good.
Because, who are we talking? Me?
No, Mikhail. Mikhail is a friend of ours, and I don't know what was in a package that he sent to Mike today, but Mike sent me a picture of the package. It had a picture of Spider-Man on it, and Mikhail had cut out Mike's head and put it on the outside of the package. So yeah, nice. we need more entertaining letters like that in the mail. That's for sure. So anyway, so Mark, I mean, as I've said to everybody, Mark and I have known each other for a very, very, very long time. He's probably one of the first people that I've ever bought artwork from, picked up at a MegaCon, I think in like 99 or something. Probably the only time you even went to MegaCon. So
twice.
We each other twice. Okay. Yeah. So I saw you at one of them, but so Mark and I have hung out at San Diego quite a bit. And because obviously we're going to be missing San Diego again this year, just like we were last year. We might even be missing it for 2022 at the rate things are going. Oh, here.
I think we're going to have it next year.
Well, you never know. But I thought I would do it like a quick trip down memory lane, actually, for Mark.
You don't have any special pictures or anything, do you?
No, there's nothing of you asleep in the bed or anything like that, or none of that kind of stuff. So this was in 2006. That's our good friend Chris Haggard. He's watching the booth while Mark and I aren't spending any time in the booth. That's our standard MO. Well, at least it's my standard MO when we would go to San Diego together.
Yeah, your MO. I'm probably running to the bathroom for 30 seconds so I can get back to the booth.
Right. Well, I would just point out that there's one thing wrong with this photograph, and I don't know if anybody can tell what that is actually. But here, let me show you. When we first set up the booth, Mark did not let me leave it like this. I don't understand why. I thought that it was the Comic Art Fans booth that show. He would not allow me to do it, and just to prove his point, he did that. He gave it the bird, the double bird, in fact. And that's how we ended up with that layout in the booth that year. So,
well, how much advertising were you paying for that banner in my $10,000 booth, Bill?
Hey, my presence was more than enough.
Yeah, I don't think your presence at that time was near as impressive as it is these days.
That's true. All right. I did get tired of people walking up to you and saying, "Are you Bill Cox?" But other than that.
I don't think that was the case those days back in that time.
You are absolutely right. So here, another trip down memory lane was from 2008. Again, neither Mark nor I are in the booth. And there's Chris Haggard working himself to death like he always did. It's no wonder he doesn't show up at the shows any longer. And I did find one, though. Nope, there's Mark in the booth. I'm not in the booth again.
Well, you're never in the booth. You're always out talking with everybody. Notice the banners have gotten a lot better, although I don't know why we let Romita Man on that banner, even though he's next to us. That must have been your doing.
It was. I kind of organized that. Got the vintage art on one end of the aisle and the repped art on the other. I thought that's a winning combination. And this was a good time we had at New York Comic Con one year with Charlie Adlard.
And my friend Todd, don't forget Todd.
See, I was looking at the zombie. I wasn't even looking at Todd there. Look at that guy. And let's see, 2 other pictures here. This is usually how things are. Mark is in a dither in the back, and I'm having a good time up in the front. Right, Mark?
Yeah, I'm working. You're
socializing.
I don't know. Yes.
That's right. Exactly. John Higashi was taking our picture, or my picture that day. And this is my atypical... After a hard day's work at the con, this is my classic shot. Exactly. This is the one I love the most. So there you have it. That is my experience at San Diego or New York with Mark A. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Started in 2002, I believe. 2003. 2003.
Yeah, gotcha. That was the first one. When I remember Weston was there and Bradstreet was there. It was a good show. So, a lot of fun.
Yep.
And Rich says there were a lot of Itoyas. Yes, there always were.
And HFP, if you've ever heard of them, but a certain art dealer bought them out, unfortunately, so they are no longer available. They're actually nicer ones, in my opinion, because they have a little more room than Itoya. One of your boyfriends.
I was going to say that was Anthony, right? That bought all those. Well, they sold them to him. From what I heard, they just wanted to get out of them, and Anthony was willing to. Yeah, and they just went to him and said, "Do you want to buy everything?" And he was like, "Sure, bring it on." So, that's how it goes. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Thanks.
Hey, I like those portfolios too. Let's talk a bit about you and your art collecting, Mark, because clearly that's what we like to talk about. And I can honestly say I don't even as much time as we've spent together, I don't think we've ever really talked about how you got started, even repping, let alone collecting original artwork. So kind of take me back to that to your beginnings.
So I'm very fortunate that my mom was always supportive. My parents were supportive of comic book collecting. They had friends when I was 5 years old. This was 73, who collected comic books at the time. And they gave me a duffel bag of 1960s, mostly DC, World's Finest, Detective, action, that kind of thing. He gave me a duffel bag of comic books, and man, that was it. That's all I needed. I was a comic book reader after that. My mom would drive every summer. We would go across the country. My dad was a professor. And so during the summers, we'd camp all throughout, we lived in Wisconsin at the time. We'd go to the Dakotas and New Mexico, and wherever we went, my mom would take me to a comic book shop. And so that's how my love of comic books continued. And as I'm sure with everybody's story, comic book collecting led to conventions, which led to getting sketches from artists, and then eventually into collecting artwork. So that's kind of how that worked out. And there was a really big convention series called Dallas Fantasy Fair that was in Dallas, obviously. And that was huge in the 80s into the 90s. And then, so I would go every year. 1989, there was a huge show. Jim Lee, Neil Gaiman, Jim Starlin, Mike Mignola. So like the who's who of everyone you'd hope to have at a show these days. We're at that show. That was one of my, I wish I could have done this differently shows. I'm sure experiences with art. I'm sure everybody's had that big fish that was sitting in front of them. But at that time, I was 23 and in college. I was younger than that, I guess, in 89. Anyhow, Jim Lee walked up to a table, and I was a big fan of his from Punisher War Journal. If you guys remember that, he did that before X-Men. And I asked him if he had any original artwork from Punisher War Journal, and he didn't. But he had just got back his first issue of Uncanny X-Men, and literally just got back. So he had all the pages, but they were $200 each, and that was what I brought to the show to buy comic books for the weekend because I was young. And so I could have had my pick of X-Men pages at that time. But unfortunately, I went with, hey, I can buy a lot of comic books at the time. So I'd pick up a page or two at shows. That's, I'm sure, how most people's stories started as far as collecting artwork. And then the Dallas Fantasy Fair went away, unfortunately. It went out of business, even though it was huge. There was, mismanagement and that kind of thing, and they ended up going out. And so that led me to looking for my fix of artwork. So we can get into that becoming an art dealer story in a minute if you want. But my first original page of artwork that I ever purchased and still have is by Phil Hester from Flash Annual 6. So this is the first appearance. Of course, my brain's going dead. It's the first appearance of what's his name? Damn it!
I'm not a DC guy, so I can't help you.
Yeah. My brain. It's been a long day. Give me one sec.
Got it.
Sorry. So anyhow, this is one of those situations where my mom comes through again. My mom was living in Iowa at the time, and I was still in the Dallas area. And
Argus.
Yes, Argus. Thank you.
I go back to your notes.
Jesus, I know. Sorry, y'all. It's been a long day. But so first appearance of Argus, and my mom saw an ad in the local Iowa newspaper, or not an ad, saw an article with Phil interviewing him about how he was breaking into DC working on this Flash annual. And so she cut it out for me like she always did. And I was coming to visit her that summer. So she gave me his name and looked him up in the phone book. And so I called him and asked him if I could come meet him and see what artwork he had and talk to him. And so he was nice enough. My mom drove us to where he lived in Iowa. She lived in Cedar Rapids, so it was about an hour from then. And I met Phil and talked with him. Andy might have been there too. I think Andy Owens is the inker. Maybe my mind is wrong on that. But Andy, somebody, the inker who worked with him on Green Arrow as well. But anyhow, so I bought this. Phil was nice enough to sell this page to me from Flash Annual 6. I thought it was awesome, and I still do. I am not the biggest DC guy, but I think it's a great representation of Phil's art, and it was a cool new character. So I've had lots of opportunities throughout the year to sell stuff, but I felt like I should keep this one since it was my first page. And as an art dealer, that's the most difficult thing. Andy Parks, thank you very much, Tyler. Appreciate you. You guys are you guys are on top of it. So anyhow, yeah, I've let a lot of pages slip through my hands over the years as an art dealer. That's a tough part of what to keep and what to sell, and you can't keep everything, or you're a collector, not a dealer. So how about you, Bill? I don't know that. I know you've collected. I don't remember really your story of how you got there and comic books and all that, other than you being in art school.
Well, we're not here to talk about me, but no, I've talked about it. I was at a show in Chicago, and we both finished our runs on the books we were looking to collect. And he and I stumbled upon Tom Fleming's booth with Philip Anderson, and was with him. And we just started thumbing through the artwork there, and we both picked up something. I think he bought something from Fleming, and I bought a couple things from Philip. And that's kind of where we got started. After that, we hit up a few other shows after that, buying art, and never looked back.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly. So yeah, before we look at artwork though, so then how does collecting artwork then translate into you starting to help be a rep at the end of the day? Because I always kind of look at people, there's art dealers and there's reps, and you can kind of, there's a gray area in between if you have some of your own material and everything, but most reps aren't really dealers, and vice versa. So how did you get started doing that?
So like I said, the Dallas Fantasy Fair went out of business, and that was my biggest opportunity to meet artists and buy pages. There were still small shows in Dallas, but it wasn't the same. It would be a small room with a handful of artists, and I don't know. So I was like, it was 2000, 2001 or so, and I was getting the itch to buy artwork, and I'm sure the internet was around, and there were probably dealers online, but I guess I was naive and didn't really do a whole lot other than like email for work and that kind of thing on the internet. But I thought to myself, there's got to be other people who can't find artwork. And so maybe if I sold my comic book collection, raised money, I could become an art dealer. It was super naive, really. It shouldn't have happened. But I went to a show with my comic book collection. I'd been collecting since 5, and I had a pretty good run of Amazing Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, Batman, Detective, probably 15, 20 long boxes. So I took that and a few pages of artwork, and I was set up across the aisle from Tim Bradstreet, who was kind of one of the main guests at the show. And Tim and I got to talking. He did not have an art dealer at that time. He had one, I guess, a couple years before that, but things did not, I guess, go the way he wanted, and he was doing his own thing at that time. And I just got to talking with him. We got along really well. I told him what I was doing. I was just selling my comic book collection and trying to become an art dealer. And by the end of the show, he gave me 4 pages of artwork to sell. So I went home and used Microsoft's program to make a web page. I don't remember what that's called. It's been too long. But it was in the infancy of being able to make your own sites, and it was clunky and all that. But I was also a member of Comic Art L back in the day. And so, you know, obviously at that time, it was just pretty much emails. You remember the email exchange before it evolved into your situation. So anyhow, I knew other collectors. I knew they would want stuff. I wanted stuff. And so within like a week, maybe 2, I sold those 4 pages. And then, so ultimately, Tim made me an art dealer, a legitimate art dealer, way before I deserved to be one, by giving me a chance. And so I kept going to small shows and kept working hard for Tim. And then I met Michael Lark. And so though he had just started Gotham Central, he had done Batman 9 Lives, I think, at that point. And so I just started continuing to go to shows. And I think I started to go, I think that next year I went to San Diego, but maybe, let's see. I think you'd purchased artwork from me at that point.
Yeah, no, I think in 2002, I think it was the first time I bought art from you.
Yeah. Well, I started in May of 2002. So you were probably in the first like 100 customers, I'm guessing.
Hey, I'm proud to be one of the early ones. I don't even remember what I bought, to be honest. It was an X-Men page. I remember it was inked by Dexter Vines, but I can't remember. Lionel Yu maybe was the pencil.
Yeah.
It was like a DPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. And then you bought some Sean Phillips Uncanny, maybe?
Yeah, no, I've had a couple of Sean's covers and plenty of interiors. Got sketches from him at different shows. I still have there's a Nightcrawler up on the wall that is by Sean that I got in 2003 at my first San Diego. It's probably the best drawing Sean's ever done.
Michael Lark helped introduce me to Sean and Duncan Fregredo, and that networking of those guys helping work for me really is what allowed me to continue to build my group of artists. Ascani? What is Ascani? Chris? Oh, from Wisconsin? Is that what they're calling?
I think that's what it means. See, you're from there and you don't even know what Ascani is.
I was there for 8 years when I was, I think we left when I was going into the 2nd grade. Well, I moved all over. I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then Gainesville, Florida, and then Nacogdoches, Texas. And then I got out of there as quickly as I could and moved up to Dallas. So high school, college, Nacogdoches, and then Dallas. So. But I was actually born in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So my parents started north and went south. I don't know why you're still in Cleveland, in the Cleveland area, but some people have to live in the north, I guess.
Hey, I don't live in Wisconsin. But my mom's still here, so
yeah.
I can't permanently ever plan on leaving, and she's definitely set on being up here for a long time. So I'm not going to go anywhere permanently until she decides to come with me. So that's all right. I don't mind. I got kids to shovel snow. But so Michael Lark's there, and I always wondered why you ended up repping so many DC guys, and at the same time, a lot of people who were working on out of Europe or on the Vertigo titles as well. So I guess it's kind of just like it's kind of snowballed, basically one guy referencing another guy to work with you. Is that?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate in that regards, and a lot of those guys I repped a lot of Vertigo guys for sure. So Michael Lark did work with Sean, and so they knew each other and were good friends. And Sean and Duncan are best friends, and they introduced me to Chris Weston. I used to rep Weston back in the day, and you know, they introduced me to Charlie Allard. We could have a story there if you want. I don't know if you remember this. If I think we were together at that time at San Diego, but it was the second time that Sean was at San Diego with me, and he had introduced me to Charlie Adler the first time, and Charlie wasn't on The Walking Dead yet. He had just done X-Files. He was doing, fill an issue here, fill an issue there. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was an idiot. But they asked me if I wanted to rep Charlie at the time. I was like, well, I'm trying to focus on guys who, I was trying to, get guys who were working on Marvel and DC. And I didn't really know Charlie. And so I was like, maybe we can work together in the future. But right now, I kind of have my hands full. And so I passed on working with Charlie. That was the first time we worked together. We met Sean and we're at San Diego. And then the next year, I had opened up a comic book shop, and a lot of my guys had said, hey, you need to read this book, The Walking Dead. It's awesome. And so I started carrying it for the shop and reading it and liking it. I was like, son of a bitch, it's Charlie Allard. It's the artist on that book.
So you got off the year before.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, Charlie. Nice. Love you.
Right.
So I asked Sean, hey, are you still friends with Charlie? Can you put me back in contact with him? And he said, oh, he's in Artist Alley selling his pages right now, if you want to go talk to him. Sean told me, y'all are going to hate me for this. Sorry, I know. I caused all this, but Charlie's down in Artist Alley selling all of his pages for $60 a piece. You might want to go do something about that. So I did. I went down there and I grabbed Charlie. I was like, remember me, Charlie? He's like, oh, yeah, you're Mark Hay, you're Sean's art dealer. I said, well, now I'm your art dealer. Let's go. And I grabbed him and all his pages, and we went back to my booth, and I started repping them after that. So, one of those shoulda, coulda, wouldas thankfully didn't bite me in the behind, because obviously Charlie is an amazing artist, and The Walking Dead, I think you guys have heard of. So it has been a great relationship for both of us. And I'm glad that I had that second opportunity to redeem myself.
Very good. Hey, every time you tap your table, it sounds like you're pounding a drum, just so you know. It vibrates your microphone.
Gotcha.
I'm sure everybody can hear it.
I'm animated. I use my hands a lot.
Yeah, sit on them. Just put them right here and go like that.
I got it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Bill.
Yeah, well, no one else was going to do it, so I had to do it. But no, I mean, that was that would have been one of your rare trips over to Artist Alley where actually you got something done, because usually you leave for Artist Alley at San Diego and you come back empty-handed all the time. That's Mark's usual stick at the beginning of a show. He's like, Bill, you got to stay at the booth so I can go buy some artwork, and then he'd leave for 2 or 3 hours and come back with nothing. So
that's because it takes 45 minutes to get there. And then the person that you're looking for isn't at their table. Fancy that. Then you get caught by a few people, and next thing you know, it's 2 hours.
Yep. Nope. Been there many times.
Yeah. And Bill's like, oh my gosh, I had to work 2 whole hours today. Come on, Mark.
Yeah. Hey, like you said, as the shows wore on, I had a lot more things to do. So
yeah.
That was West Coast shows were tough, because I that was like a lot of people there. That was the only opportunity I was going to get to talk with them all year, at least face to face. So there was always something to do, usually every day. So anyway, Mark, you did give me some artwork, and I know that I didn't kind of like prep anybody for anything that you brought, but I think that the stuff that we show at the end is going to, really, I think, gas a lot of people just to see that the Adam Hughes sketchbook artwork that you've sent me. So, because I kind of had forgotten about that too. So, why don't we, if it's okay, if we look at some of the artwork that you sent me, we can talk about it, and then we save the Adam Hughes stuff for the end. That really was that's like the pinnacle of what's in there, at least to me anyway. So we did show that Hester piece initially, but here's actually a piece from Charlie.
Yep. So I was super fortunate in this. Charlie sent this to me, and I looked at it, and I go, no way. If you guys look, if you're familiar with Walking Dead, the main character here is Jesus, is his nickname, right? And so Jesus is fighting a lot of bad guys, and the bad guy that he has in a headlock is me. So Charlie drew me on the cover as a guy getting choked out by Jesus. So, I mean, who wouldn't want that? So I had to have that piece of artwork, right? So that's the cover to 114. So I will never let that one go. That one's very cool. I was super excited to be in a comic book, on a comic book. So yeah, it's actually the second piece I own of Charlie's. I don't think I gave you the first one, but he did a commission for me because I had a piece of Duncan Fegredo's artwork from Enigma, and Charlie loved it. And so Charlie said, hey, can I do a commission for you, and you sell this to me, trade this to me? So that's how I got my first piece of yes, thanks, Tyler. Yeah. So that's how I got my first piece of artwork from Charlie, which looks like a cover, but hey, if you're on the cover, you have to get the artwork, right? So
you do, and you're still tapping, by the way. Telling you.
All right.
Yeah.
Sit in my hand. Gotcha.
That is very true. Got to do it.
Bad.
That's all right. But I met Charlie many times too. Thanks to you and different. Charlie's always been a great guy. He's I've got a couple. I don't have any published work by him, but I've got a couple of sketches, that he did at different shows. So happy to have him.
Yep. So this one is pretty special to me as well. I represent both Duncan Fegredo and Lee Bermejo, and maybe people know at this point, but initially Darkness Calls, Hellboy Darkness Calls was offered to Lee Bermejo before it was offered to Duncan. And Lee drew the whole first issue in his style. And Mike and him didn't really see eye to eye, unfortunately, because I think Mike wanted Lee to draw more like Mike and less like Lee. And so, amiably, it worked out for both of them where, Lee kept the artwork and moved on. And it worked out for me too, because he went to Duncan, and obviously Duncan and I have done well on selling his originals. But Lee had shown me the artwork, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love Hellboy and Lee. And so to be able to own a page from that, I was super excited. And you guys can judge for yourself. Everybody likes and has different styles of who's drawing Hellboy, but I thought Lee did a pretty fantastic job.
No, I mean, I always thought I saw that artwork too when he because it was in San Diego, I think, or at least you had that page there, I believe. But
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fit. And I look at I've always felt Lee's work would have been done just fine. I mean, Fegredo's work was just as good, if not better in its own way. But Mike's right.
Right. I mean, it's Mike's baby, so
together now too. It's being kickstarted. I just read an article about it the other day. I haven't had a chance to check it out.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, Paulo Rivera and some of my other guys, Ben Stenbeck, have contributed artwork as prints to go along with that. So, but that leads me into Paolo is going to be sending me the original painting for that sometime soon. And so we'll have that piece to sell. So thanks for the segue there, Bill.
This was not pre-planned, I can assure you.
I mean, Jim actually contacted Jim, who is the director, creator of that video,
Right.
the documentary. I won't try to butcher his name. It is long in Greek, but Jim's a good guy. You know Jim. Anyhow, he reached out to me about having one of my other artists participate, Tanshi Zanjic, but Tanshi was too busy and could not participate. But so I knew that this was going on. I think it's great. I definitely want to check it out.
Right. No, I'll shoot them an email just to see if they wanted to be on a chat as well. Just thought it'd be fun to talk about it. I mean, I think anybody who's putting an effort into a documentary in anything related to the comic arts is a good thing worth promoting. So I think I already heard it had already been, the Kickstarter was already successful, even though it just started. So it did have smart rewards from what I read, but again, I haven't checked it out yet. Let's see. Oh, that's right.
So the art community has a way of occasionally coming back to you in good ways. I sold this piece, makes me think of a collection that I bought it in. So I have a customer that had been a longtime customer that bought several pieces from me, and he was remodeling his house and needed to liquidate some of his art. So I bought most of his art collection from him. In it was a Jock scalped cover that I had sold him years before. And I'm a big fan of Scalped. If you guys haven't read it, you should. And so anyhow, along with that was this Simon Bisley Hellblazer cover. I actually got 3. And so as an art dealer, once again, the dilemma is, how can you keep the best stuff when you're trying to make a living off of selling it? So in this case, there were 3 great covers. And so I kept the one that I liked the most. Both of the other ones were fantastic as well. But I really liked this one. John kind of shows his personality in a lot of ways. So anyhow, this was a Bisley that I was able to keep, and justifiably, since I was like, hey, I got 3, I can make money off the other 2. I'm going to grab this one now because I probably won't be able to get one down the road and justify that kind of expenditure. So that's how I got this one from a collection of artwork.
I'm sure our friend Chris would appreciate that one.
Yes, in fact, Chris Haggard is who he's referencing. We're good buddies, and the 3 of us used to hang out at all the shows. So Chris is kind of who got me into Hellblazer, actually, because I was selling Hellblazer artwork, but I hadn't really read much of it. And so Bradstreet had given me a trade paperback that Tim Bradstreet, who he had worked on the covers. And so I read that, and Chris obviously kept buying Hellblazer stuff, and we would talk about it. And so I started reading more of it, and I really like the character, as troubled as he is, the anti-hero. I've always been fans of Punisher and Batman and characters that are human and struggling and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I guess John's human, but anyhow. But yeah, so that's why I got that Hellblazer piece, and I felt like I should hold on to it.
All right. Well, I mean, that would be the harder guy to get something you really want from, I think, as far as Bisley goes. So you probably made the right choice there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know he's done U.S. shows, and I think I met him once. It's been a while. But he doesn't do a ton of shows. Of course, nobody does shows right now. But yes, he doesn't do a ton of U.S. shows. So, and I've only done a couple European and shows. Never done a UK show yet, but I was planning on it last year, but COVID said no to that. So maybe next year.
I hear you. Well, I was going to go to a show in Italy.
Yes.
Yes,
I had that scheduled for last May.
Or was it May? I can't remember. I just remember that was the show that Berkey was invited to. They were going to do a big Bermuda Senior. Okay, same one. Yeah, that one sounds
good. Your show. Yep. Yeah, I was bringing some people as well. So,
yeah.
Sad face.
Yeah, 2022 is just around the corner.
Not exactly. It's.
I know.
So another character I grew up loving is Spider-Man, and as I told you guys, my mom would drive me places, and when we were in New Mexico, when I was a kid, I bought Amazing 129 off the shelf. It was 50 cents, so they marked it up from the 35 cent, 25 cent code, 25 cent code. Anyhow, and so I had Amazing 4 back in the day, the comic book, and it had Doc Ock in it, I believe, or was that Sandman? Damn it, which was Doc Ock? Man, I'm too old these days. I can't remember my knowledge. Was it 2 or 4 that had Doc Ock on it? Anyhow, so when Paulo Rivera did this piece, it reminded me of those days back in the day when I was reading Ditko's, Spider-Man, and I thought it was awesome that it had so many cool panels that reminded me of that time period. So I got this from Paulo, and I just think it's amazing. So
it was Amazing Spider-Man 50, and was this inked by his dad?
I believe yes. It was inked by Joe, and Paulo did the pencils, and it was Avenging. I think they have, Avenging Spider-Man is the title.
And what year was that? Because I honestly don't know.
Oh boy,
was it recent though?
It was like 6 years ago, something like that, maybe.
Okay. No, well, I always, whenever you do any updates with Paulo's work, I mean, he's one of my favorite artists. So, but it's just something I haven't seen any Spidey work from. So that's why I was curious.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Of course, the last couple of years, Paulo has done more child rearing than original artwork, unfortunately, for me. Good for him and his family, but yeah, he's hopefully now his kids are starting to get a little older. I don't know if he'll do sequentials anytime soon, but I know we might have an 8-page story. I can't remember, or he just did an 8-page story. But yeah, he's got the occasional cover that he's able to do. So. Yes, I miss the times when he was working on Daredevil. That was good for both of us. Mm-hmm. I love Paulo's stuff too.
Well, Paulo is always welcome at the Comic Art Live shows, of course.
Yep.
When he has the time and a good internet connection.
Yes, definitely. Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. Nice. So next up is a Michael Lazarus.
So. My comic book shop, I'm trying to remember Lazarus. It's been several years, but so I own a Comic Asylum in Richardson, Texas, and Michael is one of my only local artists. He's in the Dallas area, and so I got Michael to do a retailer exclusive cover for Lazarus 1, and I did it as logoed with Splash Page and Comic Asylum, and we did quite well with it. And I was able to get the artwork for it from him. So, yeah, so I still have some Lazarus 1 copies, and that's a great read if you guys haven't read it. I imagine some of you guys have, because it's just a fantastic book with Greg Rucka.
I've read the first
Have
few.
you? I was going to ask you if you'd read it. You don't read much comic books in general, though, these days, right?
No, no,
Too busy.
a little bit. I should though. I mean, there's. I know it would be blasphemy, but there's enough online. I could buy my stuff online, but I'd rather buy it from a comic shop. And so the thing is, I don't have time to go to the shop at the end of the day. I mean, there's one about 20 miles from where I live, but that's the closest one. So it's just not practical for me to get out to the mall, and which is where the nearest comic shop is. The nearest one that I like is more like 35 minutes away. So, I mean, I'm never in that part of town, so that's closer to Cleveland.
Ah.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, you got kids who can drive. You could tell your son, "Hey, here's a list of books I want. Go pick them up."
Well, he's in college and an hour away, and both my daughters are of age but don't have their driver's license yet. So that they're homeschooled.
Kids are not getting
they don't
licenses.
need to go anywhere.
I don't know what it is with these youngsters these days. Nobody wants a license.
Right, exactly. I mean, they want it. They just aren't. They don't have the time. I don't know.
Gotcha.
What do you? I'm not going to push them. It's one less car I have to buy.
At one time with my comic book store, I had 4 employees, and 3 of them did not have driver's licenses, and all of them were like 20 years old or older. I had my license at the age 16 and started working that very day. So, but yeah, these days things have changed. Obviously, the internet can keep people at home and communicate instead of driving and meeting people.
Anthony's actually said the same kind of stories. He's like, half my guys don't have cars. One guy takes an Uber to work every day. And I'm like, that's crazy. How is that even possible? But
one of my guys was taking Uber almost every day. Yeah.
Well, hey, it's hard to find good help these days. But they're not watching tonight. I'm sure they're all good. They're good employees once they get in the door. But and I agree, Marcus. Support your local comic shop. I should definitely get out a little bit more and spend some money. But we'll see. The summer's almost here. We're almost getting out of hibernation here in the north. So, but hey, this is a little change of pace here because this is a Phil Noto piece that isn't very comic related. So what's the story?
So, well, Emily. Emily is my daughter. Bill's met a million times. Emily is now 23, but when she was younger, she liked Lilo and Stitch a lot. And you guys probably know, but Phil Noto was an animator on Lilo and Stitch. And I loved Phil's stuff. And he was doing color marker sketches at that time. And they looked nice and I liked them, but I knew he was a great watercolor painter. So I brought some watercolor kit with me to a local Taoist show that he came to. And I convinced him to do a couple watercolors. And this was for my daughter. At that time, she was young, and I love it. It hangs on my wall because she's outgrown it, but I think it's fantastic. And, obviously goes back to his animating with Disney. And then I had him do a piece of Gwen putting on Spider-Man's costume in watercolor for myself. So that's a story behind that. Now, if you guys haven't met Phil, he's a super nice guy. I don't know that he does that kind of stuff at shows anymore. Probably not. But I was very lucky to get in early. I was, I think, 2002 when he was first kind of breaking in with Birds of Prey covers, and trying to remember his other early stuff. But Beautiful Killer, I think, with Jimmy. Yeah.
Was he local to you at that point?
No. I was just fortunate that the Taoist show brought him in. And And I was doing a decent number of shows at that time and saw Phil a few times. So, he knew me by face at least at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and was nice enough to accommodate my request.
No.
Have you owned any Motos over the year, Bill?
I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't reach anything at the moment, but yeah, I've got a couple pieces by him. And I've gotten a few Jean Greys in the past.
Yeah, I remember now.
Color pieces. I've gotten a few like Conte crayon type pieces from him that I've kept that I really liked. But no, I mean, he's fantastic. He can't do anything that I don't like. I mean, his style is just slick and clean, and presents very well.
So another one of those stories where, as an art dealer, it's hard to keep the good stuff. I was fortunate that I bought several pieces from Mike early on, and bought I think a couple covers and a handful of pages and this piece. And I was like, well, it's not a published cover, but it's fantastic in my opinion. It has everything I want in a Hellboy piece, pretty much, other than maybe a monster, but you got skeletons. And so it was actually the topper to a cardboard standee that held trade paperbacks at Barnes and Noble. I actually saw the topper, the cardboard fixture at Barnes and Noble, and then after I had bought this from Mike, but I was like, I'm never going to be able to keep a cover like this and justify it. So I kept this, and I'm not ever letting this one go, because it's just a very nice Magnolia piece. And I have sold a ton of Mike's work over the years, some getting it from him and others getting it from inkers. I don't know if you remember, but at MegaCon, I picked up like 20 of the Cosmic Odyssey pages. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, wasn't smart enough to keep one of those for myself, because I really like his work on that, and sold all those pages. But I wasn't going to sell this one.
No, you should not. That's for sure. Because those Cosmic Odyssey pages, they come up every now and again, but they're pretty pricey now. I know.
Yes, I know. And I know how much I sold them for back in the day.
Probably not nearly enough. But I've seen it. I've seen a few in the last couple of years, though. I mean, I remember a few came into Mike's booth that he ended up not getting, but I got to see like 4 pages there. So, I mean, they're out there and around, but they don't come on the market too often.
Yep. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I have lots of those stories. But like I said, what are you going to do? If you keep everything, you're not making any money.
Quite true. And Rich says what you say all the time. Sad face. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
All right. This is a good one.
So, and I think, Bill, but I was fortunate to make several deals with Jay over the years, and bought a lot of his artwork from him back in the day. And I have sold most all of it. But his run on Namor is amazing. And this was one of the best pieces, in my opinion. So throughout that work on that book, he kind of started with that image, kind of raw style, and then started evolving more into, the Jay Lee that we saw him on Inhumans and that kind of thing. And so this, I just thought it was a great page. It doesn't have Namor on it. It doesn't have Namor on it, but all the work, as you can see, it just spoke to me. So I kept this one, and sold a lot of other Namor pages. But yeah, so that's that story. Once again, trying to keep a nice example from an artist that I really like his work.
Well, I mean, you've been fortunate enough to have, like, in that, I remember there were 100 pages of Jay's work in all of it. So you're allowed to keep one. Nobody make it.
Right. Yeah. I have 3 other pages, but I've never made them public. And I thought about sending you images on them, but chose to show the Namor page. But at some point, I'll probably show them. They're from a 4-page X-Men story. I've got 3 of the 4 pages featuring Magneto. So you guys can figure out what issue that is. But it's great. It's a origin sequence of Magneto. So I really like it. I've held on to it. And unfortunately, on eBay, that 4th page showed up in completed auctions. Like the next day, I was searching and saw it after it sold. And, Murphy's Law, if I would have saw it up, I definitely would have done what I could to pick it up to complete the sequence. Because Jay never really did a whole lot of actual Uncanny X-Men. He did X Factor and a bunch of covers and stuff, but he didn't do a whole lot of interior pages on Uncanny. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to have that complete 4-page story.
You should have shown one of the X-Men though too, because obviously as an X-Men fan myself, that would have been nice. But that's all right.
I'll tell you what. If you want to go to another picture so I can run to the closet, I will get a piece of art and I will just have to physically show it. How's that?
All right. So I know I'm not the only X-Men fan here. So
right. I know. Yeah.
Well, we can load up. Yeah, the next image is an Adam Hughes image from your poker sketch.
Okay. So I'll start this story and then I'll continue it. Okay. I thought you meant from the sketchbook. This is from my poker themed sketchbook. And I think it was John Higashi who told me when you start a sketchbook, you get like somebody who's going to knock the socks off of a piece and kind of set the tone for the sketchbook. And obviously, artists love Adam stuff. Everybody loves Adam stuff. So it's a poker themed sketchbook. So I love his sense of humor, obviously, and he draws beautiful women. So I thought this was, pretty much perfect for Adam, So he came up with all I've got is a pair. And I'm sure he's not talking about the queens in her hand.
Yeah. No, usually Adam's sense of humor far outweighs the page. But no, that was a good one. Good way to start. And anybody who has ever met John Higashi would know that he is like the king of convention sketch getting. And I haven't seen him in a few years, but we would run into each other all the time. And he was always going to be the first person in line at every show that we would go to where there needed to be a line to go through the door. It didn't matter if it was something at San Diego or it was at Heroes Con. He was always first in line. He always had his little knapsack with him full of sketchbooks to fill and lots of things to sign. And yes,
pens and pencils and anything else you could ever want as an artist, he had you covered.
Oh, exactly. You could. There was no way you could say you didn't have what you needed to do what John wanted you to get done. Oh, very nice.
So this is a splash page, 304. And so this is Magneto becoming Magneto, basically. But what leads into it is he and a young girl are being, there we go. He and a young girl are being tracked by these guys who have basically heard that he's a mutant and they're wanting to kill him. And I think the girl is a mutant. So anyhow, he's enraged and they are coming to shoot him. And he goes full force on them, obviously. And then the last page is him using his powers to cause one of the soldiers to kill himself. But if you read the text, it's just a fantastic little origin story and great storytelling, by Jay. And that, like I told you earlier, that his style evolving from when he first started off to the Jay style that we see now. So when you own a bunch of his pages, and it's really very cool to see his evolution as an artist. I thought this sequence was very cool.
Yeah.
And Magneto is one of those heroes / villains that I think a lot of people can relate to.
No,
at least I could.
I like that period of Jay's work a lot. I mean, that was when I first got turned on to him too. I like his work today, but just there's a lot of sentimental value or appreciation in that period of his work for sure. So very cool. Thank you for showing me that.
Yep.
So another image in your poker sketchbook is from Grant Street.
Yep. So this is a very different image for Tim, and really surprised me. Like, I wasn't expecting this. My theme is anything poker related. And so, I thought maybe he'd do a Punisher or something right in his wheelhouse, but he chose to do a much more artsy type piece. And I thought the detail in it and everything is fantastic, I'm sure you guys can see, references to characters without just being as overt. So the cat for Catwoman and Penguin and the Joker card, so it's kind of different for Tim. And so that is the end piece in the book. I have a long ways to go to fill it between Adam and Tim, but the starting and the finishing of the book, definitely very nice pieces.
Yeah, that works out good. Now it's something big to live up to.
Yeah, and if you remember, Tim doesn't really do pieces at conventions like a lot of artists do. And so to get a piece by Tim, I'd been repping him for probably 14, 15 years by the time I got that piece from him. So, I feel very fortunate to have an original of his in my sketchbook.
Well, I don't blame you. I have never owned a piece by Tim.
Well, you should.
I know. There's been lots of spot illustrations of his that I've liked. I never was a big Punisher fan, so I mean, I liked a lot of the work that I saw when we were at shows and everything. But I can't even remember what the titles were. I just remember there were some army kind of guy looking. There were like spot illustrations, maybe for something gaming related. I always liked that kind of stuff of his. But no, he's got a great style, and I've always liked his work, and like hanging out with him even more.
Okay. Yes. Tim is the biggest sweetheart. So much fun to hang out with. Knows everybody, and always sharing stories about his life as an artist. He's got some whoppers, boy, I tell you, and some funny stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it's never dull with him.
No.
And,
nope.
I remember a few crazy dinners where he and I were out with a couple other people. I don't even know why I was there, because I shouldn't have been. But he's always a good time.
You remember when? So I evolved as my setup evolved at conventions. You remember the original setup was metal crossbars and metal posts before I went to the incarnation that I currently have. And so I used to have all the artwork sitting in these little metal rails. And it was, just like little legs supporting these walls. And Tim came rushing into my booth one time. I don't know if you remember this or saw this, but he tripped coming into the booth, and he was coming straight at me full force. And Tim's a sizable guy, if you guys have ever met him. And so literally his chest was hitting the front metal bar, about to just go straight through my wall full of artwork. And I grabbed him by the back of his shirt and tackled him onto the ground to keep him from just powering through all the artwork that I had. So that was pretty funny if somebody would have got that on video. But yes, Tim and I have had a lot of fun throughout the years.
Yeah, I think one of the times I got to hang out with him was with James O'Barr, and and the two of them together. I didn't have to say anything. I just sat back and watched. So
yeah.
So
James, Bernie, and Tim.
Yeah.
All hung out. Yeah. So you had to stand around a bunch of cigarette smoke to be a part of the conversation, but it was always good conversations.
That is true. Well, back in the day, I did smoke occasionally.
Yes, you did. Not me.
No, that is true. Not anymore. Not for a very long time.
Good choice.
Yeah. So
that's because you're not around Chris anymore.
Well, he stopped smoking too.
I know.
I don't even know when. Yeah. Like 8 or 9 years ago, or somewhere around in there. It's been a long while. So yeah, but it was Chris. He was the bad influence.
Yes,
for sure. So the Adam Hughes sketchbook images that you gave me are up next. So do you want to kind of segue into that? I mean, I think I was there when you bought it, but I don't really remember the circumstances around it. And so fill me in. Remind me.
Yep. So back in the day, Adam would draw in a 11 by 14 sketchbook, spiral bound sketchbook, of all of his prelims and even some of his published covers. He would work them out. This was before, the digital layouts and all that I'm sure he does these days. But back then, he would keep them all in one spiral bound notebook, sketchbook, and he would occasionally sell those. And so I had seen a couple collectors with them, and some people would split them apart and sell them. And I had gotten a handful of sketches from Adam before that. I might have even bought some published stuff from him. But I told him, hey, if you ever are going to sell another sketchbook, please put me on the list. And so my name came up. I think I set it up before San Diego, and so he and Allison showed me the sketchbook, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm there. I'm all about this. So I was very fortunate to get in at the era that I did. He was working on, he was finishing the Wonder Woman covers. He was doing a tryout for Batman at the time, and he also did a lot of the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft covers, some of the Witchblade, and he was also starting the Catwoman covers, as well as Rose and Thorn, if you remember that. Also, just a ton, like that time period, he was just really starting to blow up at DC and just doing a lot of great work. And so I was very fortunate to buy this from him, and I've kept it and held it ever since. And I brought it to San Diego a couple times. I think you've probably seen it in person, right, Bill?
I did.
It doesn't leave the house much anymore these days. And I've showed a few images on Instagram before, but it's not something I'm wanting to sell. And whenever I did show images before, I would get requests and stuff, which I understand completely, because sometimes people confuse the fact that, well, you're an art dealer, you sell artwork. Well, it doesn't mean I'm going to sell everything. And it's one of those things. I've been super fortunate. And, not only for myself, but I would bring it to shows to show the artists that I represent, because everybody loves Adam's work, but you don't often get to see behind the curtain and see all of his, like him working on faces and eyebrows and all the details of how he's coming up with the angles that he chooses and stuff. So, this sketchbook is 55 pages of drawings, and there's at least 3 published covers. There's Ride number 1, Ride number 2, and Kabuki. I can't remember the issue right now. I think I gave you the details. So those are published covers bound inside of the spiral. And he did a background piece for the Kabuki cover that he did in inks on a separate piece of paper. But the figure that's like dropped in above the background is bound into the book. And there's 1 or 2 other pieces that were the like Stan Lee Presents DC books that may or may not be the published pieces. Like a couple of the figures look like they could be the finished pieces, but I'm not entirely sure on those. But I know the other ones are published covers. And I think I showed you the Kabuki cover that's in there. So that's not Kabuki, obviously, but that's Poison Ivy. But that is, like I said, he was doing a tryout for Batman, or he was supposed to work on a Batman book. And at that time, it didn't work out, but I was fortunate to have several pages of very cool, designs where he's coming up with, that's how he drew Robin and Jim Gordon and Poison Ivy and Joker and all that at the time. So that's a nice representation of him drawing Batman at that time.
Right. And this was, again, it's around 2003, 2004.
Yes. Right. Yep. And so if you guys collected Adam's sketchbooks, you'll remember this. I think it was the back cover, or definitely inside or the back cover. It was definitely in one of his sketchbooks. But the Hey Fan bag, my eyes are right up here, obviously. You'll see that type of, jesting in various sketchbooks and stuff where, obviously Adam's drawing attractive women that you can often be distracted by, but she's telling you where to keep your eyes. So yeah, that's a nice illustration, pretty tight pencil work of Laura Croft. And that was, I don't remember which Wonder Woman cover that was a prelim, but the image itself, obviously there's no background on that, but you can look at the published cover and see that figure almost identical to that preliminary illustration. And as you can see throughout, you'll see looser, rough little head or other drawings, and then just a random nose or ear or eye or whatever, and then a really nice tight illustration. So that's what's super cool about owning this sketchbook and getting to see Adam and the way he works.
I agree, and I can't think of. I know I've seen the image, and I can't think what cover that was from.
I wish I owned this finish commission, because you can see from the face work, like, is really nice and tight, detailed pencils, fantastic illustration of Rogue. I think I know who owns the finished piece, but I don't know if it's public or not, so I won't say. But one of Adam's friends, who is also an artist, he and his wife own this piece in their collection. And so I had asked Adam after the fact down the road, hey, would you mind tightening up the whole body like that to a finished form? I would pay you. And he, didn't want to do that, which I understand because of the finished piece being somewhat similar, but very, finished and tight. But I love the face. It's, Rogue was always one of those X-Men characters that I liked a lot. I was a big X-Men fan. And so, yeah, that era of Rogue, I really liked. He did a great job on her.
I agree. And I was trying to see, I believe it's on CAF, so I can show it. Let's see, pull that out, and there you go.
Ah, there you go.
Of Randy and Laura Martin.
Yes, yeah. I didn't want to say, I wasn't sure if they had it up or not, but.
Yeah, no, I was pretty sure they did, but because they have a lot of different Rogue pieces, and that one's a keeper, that's for sure.
Yes, but obviously you can see the one I have. Yep, how he was getting there. So I consider myself very lucky to own this piece. But yeah, good for Laura and Randy. That piece is awesome.
Yep. No, I agree.
What else did I think I should?
Let's see. Actually,
okay, that's the Kabuki. Yep. So as you can see, it's the Alchemy issue 4, and the face illustration is not bound in the book, and that was the background image that the figure work was dropped in over. But you kind of, you get inking by him and pencils. Cover, I never expected to get a published cover when I, bought the sketchbook, because the ones I had seen were just, his figure work and stuff, getting, prelims and stuff, getting to the finished pieces. But I was super excited to see some finished work in there as well.
Heck yeah. I mean, I would have not assumed to have gotten any finished work whatsoever.
Right. Yep. And some of these illustrations in here, I mean, there's a lot of loose stuff, but some of them are really super finished, nice tight pencils. So even if it's not the published piece, you're getting a really nice example. I'm going to stick this up on the screen. Am I allowed to?
Yeah,
here's
sure.
another Batman page. You see, Adam's humor here, I won't read that aloud, but makes fun of his illustrations a lot. This one's funny over here. Accidental likeness number 471, Mel Gibson. Collect them all, kids. So just all kinds of cute little things that I'm guessing he just wrote for himself at that time, but whoever owned it gets to enjoy his humor and stuff as you go along. So more, Alfred and Batman related characters on here. So just some very cool stuff. I know I didn't share a lot of this with you, but so here's a Catwoman illustration that if you go to the cover, this is pretty much the finished piece has that figure work on it. So just lots of that era just had a bunch of covers that he was doing for DC at the time. So this is the first illustration in the book, which was part of that Wonder Woman cover, Flash 197. So Wonder Woman 197 had Flash and Wonder Woman on it. So you'll see loose figure work, some tighter than others, and then really nice and tight headshot of Flash. So, which is funny because once again Adam saying pick me, meaning hey, this is the head to use. This is the best one. So yeah, Adam's he's quite a sense of humor, and it's funny that he entertains himself so much, throughout his sketchbooks. I don't know what he does now, now that he doesn't have sketchbooks to draw in. So another really nice and tight Laura Croft illustration. So just look at that work on the boots. I just love his gradient pencil work. So, and then above her, you see all the different takes on eyes and bullets, and just him working stuff out. It's a lot of fun to see. Yeah. So, Witchblade, and has some Yoda illustrations and various other things stuck in here. And then you get 2-for-1s where he draws on the back of a page. In addition to the front of a page, he's working out a Red Sonja cover, and I think this was a Witchblade cover that he was working out for. So yeah, just all kinds of fun in here. I haven't ran across the ride pieces, so the lots of fun pencil stuff, but occasionally you'll see him working out inks as well. Several different cover shots all on one page, and then Invincibles. Just random stuff that I guess he's just drawn for fun. Which is cool.
Right.
So.
Well, no, that's I always like looking at that period of his work because it was so fun, and that's when I initially got turned on to Adam, as well. So it's neat getting to see those because you remember in 2001 or 2002 when you could still get a pencil sketch from him at a show that you didn't get inked, and then sometimes if you were at the studio booth, you might get one of the guys there to ink them. So it was just a unique time that no one will ever get to kind of live through again. Getting to meet a guy really who was just breaking out, and his style was just so infectious that everybody wanted to get something by him.
Yep, including artists. I know the Moy brothers collect Adam stuff. In fact, one of them might have put a little bug in my ear that if I ever let that go, he wants it. But
I assume you're not going to be letting that one go. Not
unless something catastrophic happens, or when I get to the point where.
No, I mean, you wouldn't. I would assume that's probably not your. I mean, well, I can't say never, right? But I would assume.
I don't want to get rid of it. I mean, I truly enjoy it, and I have shared it several times with artists that I represent, and they love it. Everybody really enjoys getting to look through it and to see Adam working. And as an artist, to get to see that, it's pretty special because, especially right now.
No, I hear you. I mean, I would rather be the guy that sells the whole book, than be the one to break it up. But I know that other people had. I bought pieces out of sketchbooks of his that had been broken up before too. And it's to each their own at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think these days, obviously, if I wanted to sell it, I'm sure somebody with some pockets would buy it complete. Hopefully they wouldn't sell it and break it apart and sell it individually. But I'm sure there's some people out there that would appreciate it as much as me at some point. But I've enjoyed it for a while. I still don't really want to get rid of it, though. I know it'll never happen again. I mean, it's
right. I mean, it's not you can't get another one. That's the thing. Right. That's why it's one of those things. Like I said, it's an artifact from a very special time, and no, I would, I'd be hard pressed to want to even sell it. I mean, I've had that the one piece by Adam on my wall since I got it. That was the first one I ever got from him. And it wasn't even me. Maureen had to get it. That was the Father's Day gifted. And here, he made me push the stroller. And she's like, I had struck out like 5 times in a row for over a 2.5 year period. and we went to Heroes before we went to Myrtle Beach that year, and so we were only there for one day. And so she said, "You push the stroller because you're too slow anyway. I'm gonna go over there." And she was like fifth or sixth in line. And but she did tell him that we were only there for the one day, and so she got the sketch, and now I get to keep it.
Yep, awesome. Yep, take charge, Maureen. Good for you.
Yeah, no, she's definitely being more bossy these days. She's not watching, so. Yeah, she's like, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do less of that. So that's all right. It's about time. Yeah. But here, two other images from the book that you also didn't show, but I'll put those up too.
Yep. So this was also published in that same sketchbook of Adam's, and once again, you get two sexy women drawn by him, which is very cool, Magdalena and Laura Croft, but his humor at the top, bring it on. And then girlfriend, it's Ben Broughton. So, just Adam's humor and combined with his great illustration work. So.
Mm-hmm. That is a winner. And another.
And so this is Rose and Thorn. There's 4 different covers pitched on this, and I think all those images became covers, which is cool. So yeah, it's neat that here he is pitching them on. I think they were all used. Definitely the 2 on the right hand side, but I think the left 2 as well. But yeah, so you get. I never read that book. It's a little twisted looking, obviously, but hey, he draws very attractive women, and in this case, a little scary.
I didn't read it either.
I know about Rose and Thorn more than me, but I doubt that was Rose and Thorn's been around for years in DC, but they didn't really do much with him, and that was a relaunch with Adam. So.
Very cool.
So yeah, lots of good stuff in that sketchbook.
So, question for you then. Now we've gone through all that. Is how is the store been doing? Because we haven't really talked too much about it in the last 6 months, but I know initially everything was a little rough, but now that we're almost almost a year into it now.
More than a year.
Yeah,
March.
But things started that's true. Things would have locked down right around this time last year. So how's the last 6 months been?
So my comic book shop is a hybrid store. I do like a third, maybe a little more than a third is comics sales wise. And then a third or so, maybe a little more, is collectible card games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. And so for Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering, we used to run in-person gaming tournaments, at least twice a week, and would usually have like 50, 60 people in my store gaming on a Friday night. And so obviously we haven't been able to do that for the past year. So, we're down some sales wise because of that. Because you obviously are losing that audience who comes in and pays to be there and play in tournaments and also buy sleeves and other product when they're there. But thankfully, overall, we're doing fine. We were shut down for about 6 weeks when everything was locked down. And so I was able to apply. It took me a while and a lot of red tape, but I was able to get one of the PPP grant loans. So that helped keep my guys employed. I was able to pay them. And even, the store was closed. I was able to keep them on payroll. And then we sell Magic cards online. And so I would go in and handle orders for a period of time. And then gradually, we did curbside service as things started to progress, and then in store. And I've been giving out masks from day one and gloves and have sanitizer and all that, so that it's a safe environment for people to come in and feel comfortable. But there's no the game room's closed. There's no gaming or sitting down or opening your product or anything like that. So, but overall, sales have come back. People, I think, are itching to get back out and play in tournaments and stuff. I get asked every day, but we're not quite there yet, obviously. But overall, sales wise, we're hanging in there. So online has done even better, obviously, than before.
Right.
So
Yeah. Right. I know that you've used some different marketplaces. So what about the art sales? How have they been?
So last year, I think March was a really bad month, obviously, because people were worried about, oh my gosh, what are we going to need to do? Everybody needs to, just lock themselves down. And then thankfully, once things started to settle a bit, people started to spend money on artwork. And then obviously people don't have trips to go to and other money to spend, other things to spend money on that maybe they'd be doing vacations or whatever. And so I think more people have spent money on artwork in the past year than maybe they would have previously. So last year was actually better for me overall than the previous year.
Than 2019. Okay. Well, that was the consensus when we ran the year-end reports for all the dealers that I track, and you're one of them. I think that sales had almost doubled overall, and I really didn't add any new dealers into that mix, maybe one or two. So it wasn't because I all of a sudden picked up a giant, OA dealer. It was really just the fact that I think more people were spending their money online, and so it was good for most dealers that at least had new product coming in all the time.
Well, and Comic Art Live, which Bill put on, and I helped him for the first one in some capacity. That was as big as New York Comic Con for me. And that's saying a lot because New York and San Diego are the two big ones usually for me. And so, there were other art dealers, but obviously I think I had the most repped artist at that show.
Yep.
And
there wouldn't have been a show, Mark.
It was insane. The number of commissions that we took in. I can't remember exactly how many guys were taking commissions, somewhere between 11 and 15, maybe. Mm-hmm. So I worked like you did, like 15-hour days that Friday and Saturday, and then into Sunday. Answering emails. It was nuts. The number of requests I had. Normally at New York, I've got you or Chris or some of my other buddies helping me man a booth, but this was New York all by myself and answering by, email and all the other avenues. So it was tough, but it was very successful, and it helped. Helped a lot of artists who were needing money at the time because obviously they can't go to conventions.
Started again, it was right around that period. So you figure out all those guys, all the artists had gone through 2 months where they weren't really doing much other than anything that they could pull together. So that was an opportunistic show for sure. The time period of that. So, and the next one is 22nd and 23rd of May. So pencil that in, Mark. I have not PR'd that yet, but it's definitely because that was when Lake Como was going to be, and I'm pretty if Steve hasn't committed to not doing that weekend, I'm pretty confident that they're not. I mean, you can pretty much say they're not. They're basically looking at 2022 now. So yeah, I'll do it again, and then we'll see how it goes. But a lot of time, but it goes quick. I'm already 3.
It's only 2.5 months from now.
I know. Trust me, that's the way I've been looking at it. So I have like 20 different things, and I'm trying to work a couple things into it that I didn't do the first couple shows. So yeah, I need to start promoting it and getting the dates out there for everybody and doing some mailings on it. So, but you know, sales wise, that show was bigger than the first one. It's so hopefully this third one will do the same. I'm hoping to kind of work with a few of the people who will help drive a little traffic our way, and bring in a bigger than CAF audience, because I think that's always been the limitation of that show, is just if you know about CAF, then you're going to be there. How do we bring in some people from the outside? So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
I will try to start if I have time. Get my guys going and signed up.
Yeah, you should.
Well.
Definitely. I mean, I haven't. I got to get the ball rolling on that. So I was going to send out, and I've got some other projects too that I'm not going to talk about live online that I've been brainstorming on that I'd like to do, and you would be in the list of people to be in the know on that. So
good deal.
I think that's actually good. Some of that stuff I want to start up even before Comic Art Live. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff on the horizon for everyone in the hobby. If I can.
Awesome.
Yep. So I'm glad that we got to do this, Mark.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know you've always been really busy. So as have I been. So I appreciate it. I definitely do. And we should definitely talk in the next couple of weeks more about the next show and a few other things I got going on to get your opinion on it before I open it to a lot of other people that I want to chat with. So
always fun hanging out with Bill. I miss hanging out with you at shows. So this is the next best thing.
That is very true. That's very true. All right.
You can't drink and leave it empty on my chair, though. We're not in person.
I had some good pictures I could have shown. I actually have one that I didn't show. I'll cue it up now, and it's I'm the one who looks bad in it. Look at that. I don't know what I was thinking with that haircut, but
well, I think you had shaved your head, right? And then we're working your way back to where you're at now. Right?
Yeah, I can never. That's a romance photo if I've ever seen one. So
my buddy Dylan and Bill and I. We've had all kinds of fun over the years. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys bought some artwork at the Comic Link auction too, because I know that a lot of people were tuned into that. I'm going to check out the results of that myself, not when we're done here. But again, thanks again, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
and we should talk more. We should definitely talk more.
All right. In addition to Snapchat.
That we will always have Snapchat, Mark.
Yes. Right. I agree. We definitely should. So.
All right. Well, good. Yes, Rich. Thank you for reminding people. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, and be sure to tune into Dueling Dealers tomorrow night. It's I've seen the artwork. It's an awesome selection of artwork. I don't think Mark's seen it yet.
So can you give me 15 seconds, Bill? I haven't watched it. What is it about? I mean, I know both personalities, obviously, but as far as what are they actually doing? How are they doing?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Anthony always wanted me to do a claim sale with him. Like comic shops do claim sales online, and I had always turned him off. I said I didn't want to do it. I thought they were boring. And so I started doing weekend shows with Anthony where he was setting up at a Jersey show. And so it wasn't a claim show. It was kind of more of a variety show with Anthony, right? And so that was my way of making, giving him something to do that he wanted to do and giving me some content and something fun to do on a Sunday. So we did that a couple times, and it just hit me one day. I was arguing with Berkey in the green room after a show, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if Berkey was to my left and I was in the middle and Anthony was on my right, and they were arguing with each other. And then it just clicked that we could put these two guys on screen and make a show out of it and do it like a prize fight. And the rounds of the fight would be like a claim sale numbering system. Round one, Berkey is his piece. Round one, Anthony is his. And so, and I looked at it as an opportunity to, because they both have a lot of new artwork. So I looked at it as a way of having a show where they were bringing a lot of new artwork, and they also have deep inventories. And I said, bring older artwork that you would price to sell. If you got $750 on your site, bring it to the show for $600 or something. And so we just structured it like that. And the first several shows, it was like it was rough. They wouldn't fight at all. I was trying to get them to. They'd be crass and mean to each other in the green room before the show, and then we get them online, and they were helping each other sell practically. So we started playing memes. It's more fun. At the end of the day, I don't even have anything queued up I could even show you, unfortunately.
Is it a contest, like whoever sells art for the most each round or something? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's totally because now when we do it, I did it. I ran the whole thing myself originally. I had to change the total number of sales throughout the thing, update the round count, and just do everything and announce the winner at the end. Well, now Maureen sits in the other room running the memes and monitoring the chat. My daughter is also monitoring the chat, so we don't miss any claims that come in, because it's really, when it's going, I can't pay attention to everything and pull up all the artwork and everything at the same time. It's just you. But yeah, it is. It really is. And so we played memes, all right, during the show. And here's one thing here that so you'll get a kick out of this.
Yeah, baby, in the money.
That's Anthony, all right. I don't quite understand what Anthony eats a lot of cake means. Rich, but
Anthony eats right. Well, it's a running joke. We just developed all these things just kind of happened, and it's become a shtick. I mean, here's the intro to the show. It's not the updated intro. There's a new one that I've got for tomorrow, but here was last week's intro for the show. So there you have it.
It's just a question.
Well, what was the question? Let me see. Are all the other dealers? Not. I wouldn't say anybody's really jealous. I've had a few inquiries about other people wanting to be on the show, and I've just kind of said, right now it's just Anthony and Mike until I figure everything out. We're still working through things. Last week's show, we had the problem with we actually did an auction as part of it, and it failed miserably. It worked well in week 4, but in week 5 it was a disaster. I took some bad advice. Yeah, Moyes in the chat. Yeah, Moyes picked up stuff before. Glenn has been in there. Will has been in there. So everybody watches it, and but it's just trying to be entertaining. We've got a few other ideas that we're gonna be rolling into the show just to make it fun. So. Okay. That's all.
The welterweight undercard with modern art dealers.
Right. Well, that's all. That's honestly, I mean, we've looked at it and we've thought about doing like a Saturday show and having like undercards for it, because if we do it on a Saturday afternoon, then people in Europe can watch it live. That's the drawback from doing it in the during the week at 9 p.m. at night. We exclude a lot of people who would watch it, because usually the show will have 1,200 views by around 9 a.m. Eastern the next morning, but it's a lot of people watching it after it happens, and the show is all about watching it while it happens. So we know we're really limiting our audience, a great deal by when we do it. So that's part of one of the things that I want to start working out for something to do on like once a month on a Saturday, especially now knowing that 2021 is probably going to be devoid of shows. I think that the more opportunity to sell art and to create marketing opportunities and have fun and get collectors together, with the dealers and everything, it'll just I'm looking at finding more creative ways to do what I'm already doing during the week and in the evenings. But I want to do it on like we do the Comic Art Live show, around noon, and doing it on an afternoon. So anyway, but yeah, so that's just it. Just a good time.
So they go like 10 rounds and sell one piece each round or something, or what?
It's been 12 rounds up until now, and basically rounds 1 through 4, we're at a price range of up to $500, then 5 through 8 up to $1,500, and then 9 through 12 up to $3,000. And then they've always had, like, they could show a few other pieces after it's over that are high ticket items, and they almost, the high ticket stuff never sells during the show, but they almost all sell after the show. Typically, at least Berkey's stuff, yeah, he usually shows things that he doesn't have on his site yet. I mean, he sold like a $17,000 Eternals page from the second during the second show after the show, and people, they want to see a scan, or a better image and talk to them directly about it versus, you can pull the trigger on a $1,000 page, but pulling the trigger on a $15,000, $20,000 artwork isn't normally going to happen during the show. So.
Well, maybe you can do an undercard of like 3 rounds or 5 rounds with starting at like $100 for modern art dealers. And
I completely agree, and I think we can even do. There's some, there are some dealers out there that only deal in high end stuff too. So you could have a super heavyweight show, just do 5 rounds of that, and so no, it's very open ended. I wanted a format. That's why the claim sale concept, I just hated it. I just looked at it and I thought it was dull and boring. And how could you ever work with one dealer at a time? You're always excluding somebody. So when the idea of bringing 2 people together on a show just made it, more palatable for me, and just trying to do something different that it's a game show, right? It's everything that you wouldn't think a art selling opportunity would be. And that was what I wanted. It had to be creative. And so I get to, and I get to play around doing video editing and things that I've never done before that, I totally enjoy. So I'm doing some fun stuff that keeps me engaged creatively. I can't wait to show. I've got memes of myself now for tomorrow night. And I am going to get so many good laughs, I think, out of this. I can't wait for it. So
Saturday night cage match next, Bill.
Well, right. I want to have my own Royal Rumble in the afternoon, though. Something like that definitely would make some fun. For a good time. And again, it's everybody's winning out of it. I mean, it's people are picking up art. The last show, I believe both guys sold 8 of their 12 rounds, and the show before that it was 7 of the 12 rounds. So the artwork's moving, that they're kind of figuring out what the sweet spot is for what to bring and how to price it. I mean, there's still some stuff they bring in that's, you just hear crickets, but it's all right. I have a cricket soundtrack to play when that happens. So, I want to make fun of them too when things aren't selling. So that's really, that's the goal. If we all, we're all just laughing at each other about it. And, and those 2 guys are just, they have that salesman kind of approach to stuff. So like everybody does, but there's a little bit over the top. So it just fits. And Anthony's wife, Sharon, the first episode brought in a cake for him. And so I don't even know why, but she did. And so that's kind of been so Sharon makes a cake every week now. And that's part of the shtick, is Sharon and bringing whatever cake she's decorated. I mean, one of them looked like remember that head that ripped off the body in the Thing remake? I don't know what the heck she made the one time. It had a face on it, and it had like stalks that looked like the little spider legs coming out of it. But Anthony ate it, so it's.
What you should do is film Mike and Anthony, or one of the other dealers doing a trade at San Diego, watching them constantly like trade at his booth, because where I was set up next to each other on purpose. It makes me think of what you're doing here sales wise, but just watching them trade together is preposterous, because they're always being ridiculous with each other, trying to get the most out of each other, and seeing who wins basically. So that's what this kind of reminds me of. But you should film Mike trying to trade a piece to Anthony or Don Oates or somebody like that. See how that goes.
No, we know how all of those will go. Well, Anthony always tries to lowball Mike, like, "Hey, I'll buy that off you for, can you take $100 off?" And Mike will always just be like, "No, you can do that with your stuff," because at the end of the day, they do feel competitive. I can tell you that. They want to win. Right now, Mike's up 3-2, and I can tell you that the one day he lost by $25, and after the show was over, he's like, "Damn it! I could have pulled out a Ramita Senior sketch card with just his signature on it and sold it for $26." And Anthony was like giving him the kind of thing. And so they want to win. They don't go into it not wanting, not just for the fun of it. There is definitely a competitive side to the whole show.
And they both have the over-the-top, flamboyant personalities at times, so that's
it works out good. I didn't think they were going to do it together because I know that. Well, it's not that they don't like each other, but you know how there's competition in all businesses, and I knew going in. But I said it to Mike that night when we were in the green room, and I said if I was going to do this, I'd want to have Anthony be the other guy, and he said that'd be great. It's like it made sense to him. So I'm like, all right, let me see what Anthony says. And Anthony said the same thing. And I was like, damn, I guess this does make sense. So, and it has. It's worked out good. But I do want to expand it. I just don't know, when. I really do have to work out some bugs out of it because I always wanted it to be an hour show. That was the whole idea. I wanted it to be done quick. So you're not spending the whole evening watching us kind of BS. And it's funny. I've had people say that they watch the show on their screen, on YouTube, on their TV with their kids, and their kids are all rooting for one or the other kind of thing. So people are making family nights out of this. I mean, the last show we had 210 people watching it live. So it's definitely, it's catching on, and it is humorous. And that was the whole idea, was just to keep people entertained. Cool. So, yep.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to check it out tomorrow night. Since I've been a man down at the comic shop for like 5 weeks now. So, but hopefully soon I can see what the cake is all about.
Yes, you have to. And tomorrow's a special night. So
why is that?
Cake. I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Oh.
I can't give it away. It was something we just worked out today. We realized that something needed to be done tomorrow. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Yes, it was kind of a debacle, Rich. See, it was a mess. We're only on YouTube tomorrow, everybody. Just remember that. No more Facebook. So,
is it going to be fun for people like myself who have seen them at San Diego year after year, basically living that on a weekly basis? Yeah.
Well, no, Anthony's got a smile on his face the whole show. He's not. He's not. It's not the dour. This is the Anthony that no one's ever seen. Yes, exactly. Sorry, I'm just looking at Rich's text. Yeah, no, fix it. I'll tell you, when that show ended last week, we got in the green room and I said, no more auctions ever again. and they both wanted to keep doing it, but at least they wanted to try it one more time. So I told them we would do it one more time, but not the way Albert kind of pitched it to us to do it. So it will be at the end of the show. We will show you the art that's going to be auctioned off at the beginning of the show, and I'll probably even show a reminder after round 4 or round 8, and then we'll just do the auction at the end. But we are not going to do a whole show where the auction is open-ended. That was impossible to manage, and as I've learned, Facebook is actually 15 seconds behind YouTube. So the challenge there was anybody who was trying to bid on Facebook was bidding so late and so behind that it just made the whole process obnoxious, which was why now we're just going to be on YouTube only. We can all see the same chat at the same time. And if we happen to miss something, I know everybody else who's in the chat is going to see it and will point it out to us if we miss it, because when things are flying by fast, it can happen, even with 3 of us, 5 of us technically watching it. So, but that's how we're going to run it from now on. So
yeah, when we did the Paulo Rivera Comic Art Live, and we're posting pieces up. Yeah, that was the same way. It was the delay made it unfair for people. So
yeah, well, our problem was we started bidding at the beginning and we let people bid any time until the end. And even though I knew where the bids were, some people didn't know where the bids were, and it just made it really confusing. Anthony did his. I said we're done after there was like 10 seconds of no bidding. Said it's over. and then somebody's bid came in like 5 seconds after that. And so Anthony, of course, wants his extra $25. So he says, okay, I'll take that. And I'm like, but I just told this other guy that he just won. So yeah, you can't, no more of that. No more of that at all. So anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Sounds like there's too many Chiefs in that auction too.
Well, that's just how it went. It's not going to happen again. So anyways, I'm going to call it a night. It's time. It's Miller time. Sounds here at Cafe HQ. So thank you, Mark. And I will be in touch to talk to you about that Saturday stuff that I want to do. And for everybody else, I will see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.